Good morning, everybody. As the invitation said, this morning we're going to talk about watches. I thought I would start out with watches in the news. Petit Philippe's number 2499 perpetual calendar chronometer is at the center of a year-long legal dispute between John Lennon's widow, Yoko Ono, and an unidentified Italian watch collector. The dispute began in 2014, but it's just now coming to light. The watch was given to John Lennon by Yoko Ono on his 40th birthday, just a month before he was assassinated. The former Beatles timepiece is currently in the possession of lawyers for the watch collector who bought it from a now defunct German auction house, according to the official legal documents of the Geneva court. A former driver of Ono is suspected to have stolen the timepiece years ago. In June, the Geneva court ruled that Ono is the rightful owner, but the collector, of course, is appealing that decision. Lawyers for Ono said that the watch could be valued at $4.5 million, according to court filings. However, Mark Matango, who's the author of Invest in Watches, The Art of Watch Collecting, believes that the watch could fetch between 5.5 and 10.5 million at auction. Quote, "This is undoubtedly one of the most sought after watches which the watch world has been hoping to see," he said. Quote, "The provenance, obviously, but also the mystery around the piece is a key element." Just for comparison, Paul Newman's Rolex Daytona sold for $17 million at auction in 2017, setting the record price for wristwatches at auctions. Now,
yeah, but that watch is a lot more famous than this Patek.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. I mean, there was lore for years. People wondered what happened to that watch. And then the son-in-law is like, "What? That? It's in my closet."
Yeah.
But if I understand this correctly, what you're saying is for this Patek is somebody bought stolen goods, unknowingly purchased stolen goods.
Yeah.
And now the stolen goods is going to be returned to its rightful owner, and the person that laid out the millions for it is upset, rightfully upset.
Right. Yeah. He bought it at an auction house. I thought, well, okay, that's probably out of my $40 limit category.
It sounds to me like that driver owes that person some cash.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the driver was saying that he was given to it by John, so probably not a month before he died. So I remember after he received it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, John gave it to me. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But these celebrity watches bring unbelievable money. People are just nuts anymore.
That's right.
That stuff.
Well, this morning we're going to talk about how you keep your watches, how you store your watches. And I did a little investigative reporting, investigating this last weekend. I met with the Louisville, they call themselves now the Louisville Watch Club. It was a tremendous gathering. Not only Tom Engel there, who we all know as the Rolex man, also one of the authors of the Watch Value and Collector's Guide, that great big thick paperback. Not only was Tom Engel there, but so was Isaac Hanosh, who is the head of Worldwide Traders. It was a interesting event. They laid out this big cloth. Man, there were a lot of pretty watches on it. People gathered around the table and picked them up, set them down, and picked them up, and set them down. And one watch collector there did make a purchase for $2,200 for a Tudor watch, and but it was undisclosed what was being paid for by both Tom and Isaac, but they were it was a pretty good crowd. But I asked them, I said, "How do you keep your watch?" Tom Engel is the wisest man. He says, "I keep it on my wrist." That's the safest place to keep it. But so several suggestions were made. I have a couple of images I'm going to try and share here, and that'll kick off our conversation because I know there are folks that have great ideas. One of the things they mentioned was a knife bag. And this is a picture of a knife bag. And you see it has slots in it where the knives go. And then that flap flops over it and then it rolls up. And they said, oh, yeah, you can get a knife bag. They come in all different sizes and carry quantities of stuff. And in fact, I went online and found that they make something very similar to the knife bag that you could keep your wristwatches in. You know, some wristwatches fold over very nicely like these and the bands would slip in. Others I find kind of want to stay in a loop, particularly those with catches on them. Now, they do make boxes and all kinds of stuff. They said, oh, yeah, you got to get one of these that have these pillows in them. So you're actually putting the watch on a pillow that would like represent your wrist. And they come in, 2-packs, 6-packs, 8-packs, 12-packs. There's a lot of them. But what do you do with your pocket watches? Well, they make cases for pocket watches. And basically, they are just a box of some kind with foam, mostly in the lids to hold things down, and then just compartments. And they make them that hold all different amounts. One of the gentlemen that was there said that he keeps his in a safe. This is a good place to keep your watches. He said you have to put in things that absorb humidity because their concrete walls draw moisture. And but he said, oh yeah, he keeps all of his watches in a safe. And then there was one gentleman that did admit that he just throws his into the bottom of a cardboard box. And so these are just some ideas of what you might do and how you might keep your watches. But I thought this morning it'd be, if we had a little discussion, we might be inspired to improve our watch storage. So I know, Eric, you have a few watches. Have you got a special way you keep them?
There's two different ways. I've got one of those boxes with a lid, with the pillowed sections. Those are for the nicer watches. And then I have a bowl that holds all my cheap quartzes, the G-Shocks and the Timexes and all those, the ones that I don't mind getting paint or garbage on.
Like a salad bowl?
It's actually it's from Norway. It's where my mom, it's from a town from where my mom is from Bergen. And so it's like a heritage thing. So it's just a little bowl I keep extra change in, and it's one of those things.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just like all the quartzes are just stacked on top of each other.
Mm-hmm. Dennis, do you have a way that you keep your watch?
Well, I wear prescription glasses, but I also wear the cheap ones you can buy at Costco, and they always come with a little case like this, and these are incredibly well for just fitting a nice watch into them. And they come in different colors, so if you're good at memorying what color you put which watch in, that works pretty good. They don't display the anyway. You got to kind of, if you pick them up out of a bag, like when you're walking around in a mart, you got to be careful to pick it up with the open end up.
Yeah. You don't want them on the floor.
No, not good. Anyway, that's just a way of keeping a few loose ones if you're walking around with a bag full in the mart. I've got one drawer in my desk, and my homemade desk is all woodwork that I do. And I made 2 drawers on each side that are only 1.5 inches deep. And then I put some slats in it. So I got slats both ways. And I can put pocket watches in there in a row to pull them out and look at them, decide which one I want to carry this week or whichever.
Yeah.
so we can look at them, look at 15 of them at once.
Well, and I guess in keeping your watches, I guess whatever you're using to keep them kind of falls into two categories. It's either displaying your watches or storing your watches.
Yeah, and that's the other second one. The ones I want to keep on my kind of display drawer, and I didn't take a picture of it. I'm sorry about that. But I also have a cigar box in my safe that is something like his bowl. Just collects them, and they're 3 or 4 deep in there. I generally put them in little plastic bags. You can get these little bags like this. They're good for storing postcards, and they just hold a pocket watch quite nicely, and you can fold it down, even tape it if you want.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, I know Bob was at the Clocktoberfest. Good morning, Bob.
Hello. How are you? They also make a cellophane bag for a wristwatch.
Yeah.
And you can seal it up. Yeah, I use all the things you mentioned. I've got a number of watches locked up in a safe with a dehumidifier. Another good way to store them is the old silver cloth that they used to make that you put flatware in. I've always collected local silver, and you'll get like Kendrick Brothers or the Kendrick Company. They'll put their name on the cloths, but they will hold 8 or 10 watches, wrist watches, the ones that you can spread out. They're not the ones that'll in the bracelet, but you can just roll them up, and they don't take up a lot of room. I got this off the internet. It's a nice display case. I think it holds 10 watches. It's got the pillows and everything. These tend to get, they're good for if you've got a wristwatch that's got a closed clasp that you can't flatten out. They do take up a lot of room, and don't have that kind of room in my safe, but they're good for display. I've got them stacked in a desk drawer, you name it. Another thing you might mention is the watch winders. A lot of people will put them. They can make a watch winder it's a single up to about 10. I think I've got one that will hold 8 watches, and some people they slowly rotate in this display box, and most of them are made where you can kind of watch them, but that keeps the self-winding ones wound, so they're running all the time, and it's kind of controversial whether you're better off of having them run all the time or whether you let them run down. Personally, I don't use the watch winder, and a lot of people are now saying, especially with the synthetic oils, that you don't need to worry about keeping them running. It used to be, if they sat for a while, many times the organic oils would dry up, and then when you tried to wind it and get it running, it wouldn't run. So I think that was the thinking behind the watch winders. If you keep them running, they'll never stop.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think believe in that, and that's fine. I've got one. Don't think I've ever put a watch in it and kept it going. Some of them are battery operated. Some you actually plug in, and you can get them online, fairly inexpensively. Or if you want, you can spend $1,000 on a very nice display case that's got watch winders in it. So
they're great if you got a calendar or multi-date. The date and the
exactly. That's one of the reasons that they do it. Trying to reset one of those darn things is a real pain in the neck.
Oh, so it's either you get a watch winder or you keep track of the instructions that tell you how to reset the date.
Yeah, and good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, Bob, I see Bob D has joined us this morning. I know he is a watch guy. How do you keep your watches? I know you have some very nice watches.
Well, good morning. I keep my watches in a box similar to Bob just showed, and with 10 watches in it. And as far as keeping them wound, I just watched a YouTube on from RGM, and Roland is one of the greatest watchmakers in the America at this time, and he claims it's not necessary to keep the watches wound all the time. Once a year is more than enough.
That's it.
Especially, his personal collection is hundreds of watches, so you got to keep them wound. I don't think so. But I myself, I keep it in. If I'm going to use a certain watch, and it's not wound, I might put it on my watch winder, but it's not a necessity. It's enough that you could just take it, even if it's an automatic watch, just set it to the time, wind it, put it on your wrist, and you're fine. Or do what you're doing, Frank.
When I put mine on, I say, okay, I'll put it on. I set it. I do this 25 times and I'm good to go. That's it.
That'll
Well,
work.
I have to admit that I'm the guy who just throws them in his top dresser drawer. I have where I keep all my bandanas and my collectibles and knickknacks. I have to lift up things and look, where's that watch? I know it's in here somewhere, but both pocket watches and wrist watches. Yeah. So I've been looking for a way to display pocket watches. And I was very pleased with the display that was set up at the NAWCC Museum, where there were cases that were both glass in the front and the back, so you could see, and they had them open and hanging, and so that you could see them. It was and like Dennis, I'm a woodworker too in the winter. And so I've been thinking about what I'm going to do to try and bring them out and show them, because some people put, I've seen watches displayed under a glass coffee table top, where you're not going to take them out and use them regularly, but strictly for display. Here were these watches underneath a glass coffee table top. But I don't know. I guess the best way to display a wristwatch is to wear one on your wrist. When we were at the Makers Fair, I was wearing 4 wristwatches so that I could show them off. The rest of them I had to carry in a pocket, so it was all right. Well, Tom, I know you're basically a clock guy, but do you have any watches hiding in your collection?
Nope, not really. The ones that I only have like 3 watches, and I keep them in my closet right next to clothes that I'm going to wear the next day. So get out the one I'm going to wear that day. But
Yeah,
nothing real special. As far as the idea of a coffee table, I mean, you could put a drawer in it so that you could pull it out and easily access it. So, and then you could change it out periodically.
Well, either that, or I thought I would get a old safe on wheels, use it as a side table, and leave the door open and have trays in it that you could slide out. But I don't know. You have to figure out how you're going to keep them, because one of the questions that came up at the watch club collection on Sunday was that, well, how many watches have you got now? And Tom Engel said he didn't know. So
I would hate to guess
you
how
have to
many.
keep track of them. So, what's that, Bob?
I said I would hate to even hazard a guess as to how many I have. Too many. Let me put it.
Because they easily get spread out.
But never enough.
Never enough.
What will your kids say though? Mine will say, I can't imagine why this old coot had this many watches.
Yeah, why did that? Well,
We don't have any kids, so I don't have to worry about that.
yeah, my grandfather was given a commemorative watch when he retired from Standard Oil of New Jersey, and when he died, it was the rule was you couldn't take anything out of the house. I said, well, I'm taking his watch. And I had several aunts wide-eyed, what? No. Well, then I showed him the watch I was taking. It was his fishing watch. It was a Timex. It was like, I always remembered him wearing it when we went fishing. So, but yeah, I have that watch, and that is probably emotionally, that's probably my most valuable watch. But I have several that I paid more than $40 for, and I also have some that were given to me as gifts. And I guess that takes us back to the top of the discussion, where if you're looking to suggest a birthday present for your wife, she could give you a Petit Philippe. And make sure
with Yoko's name on the back.
yeah, with the Yoko Ono's name on the back. That's right. But certainly, well, I know there's a lot of things going on. It seems at this time of the year, regionals, people stop thinking of traveling in the summer and they start thinking about regionals. There's several large regionals. The Worldwide Traders, Isaac told me on Sunday that they have already booked in to do the national next year in Chattanooga, also the Florida regional, and also the one up north in Illinois. He said if anybody has an event going on and would like to attract watch people, they should get in touch with the Worldwide Traders, because they come in with all those display cases. And we're in Louisville, and Isaac says, hey, from Detroit, it's just 5 hours. I'll be down here in a heartbeat. And Ed, you and the guys out in Lexington are probably going to get a call from Isaac. So the Worldwide Traders, because I told him your event happens in January. So I'll put links on all that stuff. And also to the Worldwide Traders. The NAWCC since about 2016 has really worked to partner with the AWCI and also the Worldwide Traders, because you recognize that why not have a great big show, get everybody involved. So that's a good thing. It was good to see Isaac.
Yeah, let me put a punch in for the first time in history. They're going to have, I think it's in late April, they're going to have a regional up in New England. They've been working on that for a couple of years. It's going to be up in New Hampshire, and I think it's the last weekend in April. And I think I'm going to volunteer to be their national representative for that. So we love New Hampshire, and Jody said, yeah, let's go. So
Nashville.
In Nashville, New Hampshire, I believe is where it's going to be. It's right around Manchester, Concord area. Very nice area, and be a wonderful time of the year to go up there. So, and I think they're trying to work with Schmidt and Horan or Dan Horan or one of those to try to have an auction like the next day or something like that. So they've been putting a lot of work into that. So I think it behooves ourselves to support them and see if we can keep that going, because that's a good area that needs one. So
yeah. And you're starting to see the big auction houses names associated with the larger regionals. I think Florida Regional is one of their sponsors, is one of the big auction houses. So absolutely. Anybody else got anything? I want to warn you, next week, we're going to talk about refinishing clock cases, not only the wooden cases, metal cases, things like that. So we'll have a short discussion on that. We'll find out who the experts are, and we'll see if we can't get them on the little tube, get them on the little screen. So that's it for this week. Yeah.
If you got a second, for our local people, let me give you an update on the Louisville Clock. I've been kind of working on that, trying to recruit people. I've got a couple of fairly prominent people that are coming on board, I think. had a conversation with Jessica Kincaid, who was mentioned in Joe Gerst's article that nobody's been able to get a hold of her. She actually has called me yesterday. We had a discussion. I was kind of confrontational with her because she keeps saying, well, it's up to the art council. I said, we need to see the clock. We need to see the structure. Dennis and Ed and Bob, I don't know if you're familiar with this. We can probably put a video of the Louisville Clock. It's a thing that was Barney Bright, who is a sculptor in Louisville, designed and built this clock. It's 20 feet wide. It's a wonderful piece of work. It fell into disrepair. They tore it up. It was sitting outside on display. The city tore it up once to get it out of the way. It almost got scrapped. About 10, 15 years ago, they got together. The city didn't do it. A group of people got together and rebuilt the thing to the tune of, I think, close to $1 million, thanks to Adam Matthew Foundation. Put it on display again outside, unfortunately. They insisted that they wanted it outside. started going into disrepair, the city sold the building that it was sitting in front of, and one day a crew showed up and tore it apart and put it into storage again. That was in 2015, and it's one of those things that really it's a work of art, and it really needs to be on display. And I've been, myself and several other people have been trying to get it going, and the city, I have a feeling that the thing is in such bad shape that they don't want us to see it. And I said, we need to see the structure. Well, it's packed away. I said, the structure is not packed away. I know that. And she said, well, I said, well, Mark Zoller, the head of facilities management for the city, said, I'll be glad to meet you down there and show it to you. And she cut him off at the pass and saying, oh, no, that's, he's in charge of city facilities. We're in charge of the art. It's a different group. So in order to see it, you have to fill out some forms and make a proposal to the art council. They have to vote on it. I mean, it's basically a catch-22 proposition. And I finally, basically said, are you willing to help us? Or are you willing to basically block our way? And she had no answer. So,
well, the city is very insistent that is not a scrap yard, that it's in, that it's.
And there's a big hole in the fence. So I said, do you know if all the pieces are even there?
Right.
And so, no reply.
Well,
but Kevin Nolan actually replied to me yesterday, and he's going to be out of town. But he said, when I get back in town, I will assist you in letting us take a look at it. So
okay.
And I looked at who's on the art council. There's one person that's one of the curators at the Speed Art Museum. Who I don't know, but I'm going to contact Scott Urbis, I work with Scott and I'm friends with Scott. He's a curator at the Speed. He was one we worked with on the Kentucky Talkies Clock exhibit. See if he can put me in touch with this guy, and maybe we can, get a leg up on that. Yeah. But I have a number of people that I think will have enough pull that we can put some pressure on the city. But it's ridiculous that I said, how can we make a proposal if we don't even know what shape it's in?
That's right. That's right. And there's a lot of questions have to be answered before that clock ticks and talks again. But that article in the Courier Journal this last week, it mentioned a lot of pieces that are stored in that storage area.
Oh, yeah. And I mentioned that. A lot of that wasn't true. And I'm going, well, it's not good publicity for the city, let me tell you.
That's right. That's right.
And I said it would be a feather in the cap of the new administration to get that thing going. So we'll see what happens. And turns out she's got a good background, but she was the curator of the 21C Museum collection prior to the job. And Mayor Greenberg was actually the CEO of the 21C Museum. So they've got a background together. So
all right. Well, it's a big clock. It won't show up on my shelf, but it definitely will be something to get involved in work on for sure. Well, I want to say thank you again for showing up, giving us some inspiration on how to store our watches. Anything new that comes up, I'll remind you, and keep your eyes out in the news for watches in the news. So yeah, that's great. My cup's empty. So as I say every week, remember, there's stuff out there you can catch. So in crowds, wear a mask, keep your hands washed, and please don't stand so close to me. We'll see you all next week.
Take care.